the famous Contax made by Kyocera from 1982. This is the RTS Quartz Model 2. Fit in the planar 50mm standard lens. Line up a red dot and click into place, and there we are. That is the planar standard lens. This is the RTS Mark II Quartz, which is written on the back of the camera. Next to it, here is a little socket where you can put an electronic cable release, and that I used at the start of the video for showing the motor wind. Now I've taken off the motor wind so we can see some other parts of the camera. On the left here is a little switch where you have a viewfinder blind that is now closed and it's now opened. It's now closed, it's now opened. Here is a film rewind knob which you turn when you want to rewind the film into your cassette, having pressed the release button, of course, on the back of the camera here. If you don't press that button, you'll find your film will jam and tear. So you must press that in, then at the end you turn that until you hear a click, and then you can safely take out the film by pulling up this latch, and the back of the camera opens, and then you can take your film from the cassette chamber here. In the back of the camera we see the shutter blind. This is very, very delicate and you mustn't touch it with your fingers or poke it. This is the transport for the film, and that is the loading area for the film here. And unlike on a lot of other cameras, it doesn't rewind back on itself. The film goes straight across clockwise. Unlike another camera, the film will wind onto that anti-clockwise. On the top of the camera we have this control, which is where you set your ISO or ASA setting for whichever film you've got. The beauty of this camera, it does not have the more modern DX coding. It has a setting where you can up-rate and down-rate films if you want to. You turn this, say it's on 200 there, you might have an old film which was 400 and you want to give it more exposure because it's out of date, you can rate that at 200. Now the white ones are the American Standard Association, ASA, which is an arithmetic progression. Here is the German DIN, Deutsche Industrie Normal, which is a logarithmic progression of the film speed. To turn the camera on, you've got to switch the switch here until a little red shows, otherwise nothing will work. There we are. There's the red showing now, which means it's switched on. When you press the shutter release, which is an electromagnetic release here, you get the shutter working. Of course, I took the motor wind off, so you've got to wind it on now. There we are. Lovely. Very quiet. And on the left hand side you have a manual shutter speed setting which goes from 1/2000th of a second all the way round to a very long 8 seconds. If you want to use it on automatic exposure, you turn that until A goes opposite a little white line there. Then the camera will choose a shutter speed for you when that is set to A, according to the aperture that you've set on your lens there. The aperture setting is against the white line. I'm moving it now. It's on 2.8 now, and it's now on f8. When you use a flash, there's several sockets you can attach the flash to. This is the traditional hot shoes socket, with a main centre contact and two smaller electrical contacts which will work with a Contax dedicated flash and give you through the lens flash metering. This is the frame counter which tells you how many frames you've taken. On this camera it doesn't work correctly because the camera had a bang, unfortunately, and the frame counter doesn't work correctly. Now on the front of the camera we have another socket where you can plug in a standard 3mm coaxial flash lead, which we can use for studio lights like the Bowens or the mono lights I've got. And here we have a mirror up switch. You press that and the mirror inside the camera will flip up, and it's very good for long time exposures. Down here we have another socket where you can plug in a standard non-electronic cable release, which is much cheaper than the electronic ones, of course. Now this control is a control for stopping down the lens to show you the effect of the depth of field you get as you close down the lens, but it also actuates a 1/50th manual shutter speed. If we now push this down, make certain it's wound on, and we press that lens, the camera will fire on 1/50th of a second at a manual shutter speed. There we are, that's 1/50th. If you just press in, you can stop down the lens and show the effect of the lens stopping down, hence the depth of field you get. If it is it's opened up, and there it is closed down. This control is a control for exposure preview. Now, when I got this camera I didn't know where the little white line had to be, and I made some mistakes. But the white line has to be on the side here, and the lever has to be in line with that for most of your pictures. If you press the lever upwards and you press that button there, it remembers the exposure at that time, and then it may change and you'll get incorrect exposure. So normally you must have the lever showing and the white line on the side there, then you'll get better pictures. Removing the lens on the Contax is a bit fiddly. It hasn't got a very good release. This is the release button up there. You've got to press a tiny little button, twist your lens off, put it safely so you don't smash it, of course. Now inside here is the mirror, and you can see where I have changed the mirror foam pads, because this was 1982 and over 30 odd years they've all gone rotten. Now these are being changed with some cheap foam I got priced 80p from Hobby Crafts in Romford, and you can quite easily cut that and over the mirror put some toilet tissue to protect it, and then push it in with some tweezers and protect the mirror as you are replacing those foam pads. The Contax has an interchangeable focusing screen which is at the top here. You pull a tab and the focusing screen will drop down, but you need some special tweezers that I don't have to reinsert the new and different focusing screen. This gift Contax came with a real-time winder W3. This is a drive shaft which couples to the bottom of the camera. This is where it goes into the tripod socket, and these are electrical contacts which connect with the electronic battery of your camera, but the winder has to have its own set of batteries which are fitted in the side here. There's a set of 6 batteries. Now these have to be put in very carefully according to a little picture on the back, which is not very easy to understand because some of them are upside down and some of them the right way round. But I managed to fathom out, because you must have plus and minus correctly otherwise you won't get the correct electrical connections. And then see this little lip here, there's a picture, here it is, there's a little picture of that lip, and you push that battery load into there, and with a bit of luck, if you line it up very carefully, because it's only plastic, you can push this in and the battery holder will be ready to load onto the rear of your camera. Right, fitting the real-time winder Mark W3 onto the base of the Contax Quartz 2, we find the screw here, which is the tripod socket, and you line that up there and then gently tighten the screw until everything hopefully lines up. That's tight, don't go over mad with it. Then switch on the camera, because it won't work until the camera's switched on. Then you lift up this knob here to put it onto a single shot. You press it and it's wound on. It winds on like magic. I'll show you the shutter going in the back. And a little light flashes here as the winder winds on, as if by magic, folks. Now with the Contax, you can either fire it off horizontally. If you're doing a vertical photograph, a portrait, there's another button here. You can press it holding it vertically and the camera will release and wind on. That's quite a nice little thing which a lot of other makes don't have. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that very quick tour of the Contax RTS II Quartz from 1982. If you've got any other videos you'd like me to make, please make a comment on the bottom of my page here. And thank you for viewing, and please subscribe. Then I'll be able to do you some more, hopefully, interesting tuitional videos.